Okay, ladies, here is the demo as best as I can for the Magic pot holder, also known as How I Did It pot holder. First of all, be sure that you use natural fibers. The yarn that I'm demonstrating with has a fair amount of acrylic in it, and that would not be suitable for a pot holder. So you're going to want to make sure that you have a 100% natural fiber. Cotton wool will work. The whole point behind the cotton, you guys remember, where the natural fiber is so that it doesn't melt. It says to begin with a chain the desired length. I measure that from across my thumb to my finger. That's so I'm going to chain enough that when I lay it on my hand, it goes from my thumb across my hand to my finger. Now, I don't want to do that right now because I've got a lot I want to show you, and I don't need all those chains to work back on. It also tells us to work in the Loch Ness Monster. You guys remember, this is how we normally work into a chain with the braid side facing us, and to go in the second chain from the hook, I would go into this loop. However, this one tells us the Loch Ness Monster. What in the world? Anyway, we're going to turn this over, and as you can see, there's little bumps. You can see the little bumps. I call those the Loch Ness Monster because they stick above the surface of the chain. We're going to work in there because it makes a very tidy beginning for this pot holder. Is it possible to make it using that side of the beginning chain? It is. You can do it that way. It's a much nicer beginning if we work under that bump. We're going to work a single crochet in each of those stitches, and as you can see, it's a little tedious. The other thing I would say is if you normally make your chain a little tighter than is appropriate, or you run into that problem where your chain's a little too tight as you start working your stitches, you might want to work the beginning of this pattern with a size larger hook and then come back and work in your normal size hook. This is a 4.5 millimeter hook. That size, remember that odd size between a G and an H. I chose this size with this yarn because the yarn's a little bit finer than normal. So I'm working in each chain back to the beginning. Now's when I wish I'd made this a little bit shorter because you'd see less of this. And you can see how I'm working in each one underneath the Loch Ness Monster and how I have to pay gentle attention to get under them. I'm now back to the beginning. I'm going to go into that one, and here's the fun part of this pot holder. I now have the first row done as usual, except instead I am not going to turn around and work back over the top of the stitches. I'm actually going to pivot so that it's upside down, and notice, because of what I've done with the Loch Ness Monster, there is a normal looking stitch here at the top now. So here I am. I'm going to turn it upside down. I am not going to increase. I'm not going to work loosely. These are all issues if you're not careful. And I'm going to put one stitch in each of those stitches all the way back to the end. When I get to the other end, well, now I'm going to take a while to do that too. Hold on. I'm going to pretend, because I don't want you guys to have to watch me do that the whole way. So we're going to have, this is my faked Rachel Ray moment. We're going to pretend that I got all the way down here. I'm in the second to last stitch. I'm now in the last stitch, and you can see what it looks like right there. I'm in the last stitch. Make my single crochet. Now, I am not going to turn around and go back. I'm going to pivot around the corner, working into the top of the stitches over and over. I'm now technically in the round, I'm going to be mindful of my stitches on the corners because they're going to want to get loose. I'm not going to let them do that. I'm going to watch them. I'm going to make sure I don't increase at the corners as I go around the corner, because that's going to want to happen. I'm going to go down here to the end so I can show you the first reel around the corner business. See how it wants to hump up a little bit? And see how we have a stitch right there and right there. Those are the only two I'm going to go into. I am not going to go, I'm not going to put 2 stitches in there. I'm not going to go into them. I'm going to go into that one, into that one, and I'm going to make sure that I keep them tidy as I go around the corner. So when I do that, it's going to start to buckle up like this. As we're continuing, we're going to make a little, it's going to look like this. The further along you go, it's going to look like a little canoe. And in reality, as you're working, the wrong side, see the bottom with the 2 legs? Do you see the bottom right here with the 2 legs? That's the back side of the stitch. But it's going to make this little canoe like this. At some point, I'm going to push it forward this way so that the right side of the stitch is facing me. And I'm going to go round and round and round and round. Just keep going until when I fold it like this, these 2 sides meet in the middle. When they meet in the middle, I will slip a stitch down the center to finish it off. Now, as a note, you could just work all in one color. You can, but this is a great pattern for using up odds and ends. So you could insert a round of color. You could do 3 or 4 rounds of color and then switch back. All of the tails will be on the inside, so as long as they're secured, we don't have to weave them in too much. But you'll want to change color, not up here. You're going to want to change at the bend. If I change up there, now it's going to be in the middle of the row. I'm going to want to fold it down and change here so that it's on the corner, on the fold, when I'm done with the piece. When they meet in the middle, like this, I'm ready to seam it up and I'm done. You don't have to put anything on the inside. It will be double layered. I do have an example. I'm just almost ashamed to show you because it has been well loved and used, as you can tell. This is the back, and you can see how tidy the middle is. Very tidy and nice. And then here's, obviously this is well loved. One of my favorite pot holders is this pattern. And here you can see where it was slip stitched together. So that's my video for helping you start. I hope it does.